Welcome everyone. My name's Louis Sanford. I'm a young business owner, so I'm 23 and I'm in my early stages of my career and my journey to live a brilliant life. Now, I'm a big believer in personal development. I don't think you can learn too much, and I think learning from successful people is a key to success. So I'm starting this new series where I'll be having conversations with a series of successful, influential people from a variety of different backgrounds and fields. So today I'm joined by Michael Heppell, who is a highly successful success coach, a multiple-time international best-selling author, and a world-renowned speaker. So I'll let Michael tell you a little bit more about what he does in just a second. But Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm brilliant. And thank you for that very nice introduction, Louis. It's when you were reading that, I was thinking, is that me? Oh my goodness, it is. Yeah, I've done that, which is always nice. You know, the lovely thing is, I love it that when people start to put stuff out like this, because that's how I learned. I just studied other highly successful people and thought, what is it that they do? How can I take those ideas and how can I apply them into my life? And you know what? Success leaves tracks. And if we can find those tracks and follow them, that you're halfway there.
I like it. I like it. So to break the ice a little bit, can you tell us a bit of a fun fact about you?
A fun fact. Okay, I am a member of the Magic Circle.
Okay. Excellent. Very fun fact.
Is that fun enough for you?
Yeah, I like it, yeah.
I can do a balloon modeling. Shall I do a balloon model for you?
Yeah, go for it.
Here we go. Right. So, Louis, what's your most favorite animal in the world? What's that? A dog? Yeah, no problem.
A dog.
Yeah,
I was actually going to say a dog, so you're lucky.
And do you like big dogs or little dogs? What's that, little dogs? Yeah, of course, I can do that. So I bet you weren't expecting to get someone. Listen, I don't know how this sounds on a podcast, but hopefully you should be picking up the squeakiness of the balloon there. And then if you just do a little blow just there, go like that. Ready? 1, 2, 3, blow. Oh no, hang on. You gotta do a good blow, like a proper, like that. Ready? 1, 2, 3, blow. Oi, do you see it?
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. I'm trying to get the tail to do a little bubble on the end. That's it.
There you go.
There you go. That's yours. I'll send you that in the post.
Oh, brilliant. I hope it doesn't pop.
I can send you an IKEA flat pack version.
That's brilliant. I love it. Oh, excellent. Are you into your magic then? A lot?
And not as much as I used to be. I used to properly perform. I did I used to do shows, I did clubs, I did children's parties, I did all that stuff, but I don't do it anymore. When I was around about your age, actually, it was when I was kind of hustling and doing 2 or 3 jobs and thought, you know what, this could be a good way to make some money. And then I used to spend all the money I made on props.
Well, I know a couple of card tricks, not many, but like 2 or 3 card tricks, and we're always good when you're at a party and people are a little bit drunk and we're all like shocked by what.
Yeah, well, it helps if people are a bit drunk.
Yeah, it does help a lot. Yeah. So why don't you? Obviously, I gave a little bit of an introduction, but you know yourself better than anyone. So why don't you give me a bit of an introduction about you and tell me your story a bit?
Well, do you know, like a lot of people, Louis, my life's changed completely in the last 15 months. So up 15 months ago, I was standing on stages in front of, 2,000 or 3,000 people. I was doing face-to-face coaching, and then all that changed, and I've had to rethink what my purpose is and what am I here to do. And I realized that actually I couldn't just sit and twiddle my thumbs, and my income had dropped massively. And although I'm very, very fortunate that my wife is a brilliant saver, I didn't really want to tap into my savings. So I wanted to recreate new ways of working, new ways of doing things. So I started doing a lot of stuff online, and I created a group called How to Be Brilliant. So brilliance is kind of my thing, and started that on Facebook. And then the pandemic happened and it went crazy. And we got like 3,500 members very quickly. And It was a real beacon of positivity. This is people who are, they wanted to go somewhere where they could be positive and they could encourage each other and support. And after a couple of months of running this group, I thought, I wonder if there's something else I could do. So I did one of those little Google surveys, sent it out to 1 in every 25 people in the group. And I said, there's 3 things. I got 3 things in my head. Could I teach people time management? I wrote a book on time management called How to Save an Hour Every Day. Or would you like to know about customer service? I wrote a book on customer service called 5-Star Service, 1-Star Budget. Or maybe it would be about some really high-end personal development. I wrote a book called The Edge, How the Best Get Better. So I could maybe do one of those three things. And then just at the last minute, before I hit send, I thought, oh, I'll add one more, how to write a book. And that was extraordinary because 75% of people who voted said they'd like to know how to write a book. So I created a pop-up group called Write That Book. I had 444 people join, which was amazing. And the creativity that people had and their ideas for books. And I thought I would attract people who were wanting to write personal development books or business books. I was completely wrong, Louis. Everybody you can imagine. Children's books, people who were writing memoirs, people who were writing, other people's biographies. I had loads and loads of really interesting stuff. And then from that, somebody said, well, what's next? What's next? Are we going to do more? So I decided to create a masterclass that would last for 3 days. I did the masterclass. And normally it can take up to 2 years from idea to publishing a book. So far, just from that one masterclass, we've had 30 people publish their books. We've got another 60 in the pipeline that are going to happen this year. And I'm doing it again because it is pretty much the most rewarding thing you can imagine. Writing your own book is the best feeling ever. When you open that package and your book is in there, oh my goodness, that's like, say having a child. It's incredible. Second best thing is helping somebody else to have that feeling.
That's brilliant. So hang on, when did you start the masterclass? And you've already...
I did one in May, I did one in October, and I'm doing the next one starts beginning of June.
That's brilliant. And going forward, do you think will more of your time be focused there, or do you think you will be going back doing more speaking? And
I think more of my time will be focused there because I've just set a massive goal. So my big goal when I first started my company was to positively influence 1 million lives. And I had no idea how I would do that. All I knew was after 2 years, I hadn't got on the right trajectory. I was never going to do it. But then some interesting things happened. One, I wrote my own book. That massively helped. But also I started to make better decisions. So the goal was positively influence 1 million lives. I've got a choice of doing 2 jobs. One is for the senior exec team at GlaxoSmithKline, 12 people. The other one is for a company who's going to have 3,000 people at their conference. It was a no-brainer. I'm going for the 3,000. And then we achieved that goal about 5 years ago, and I haven't had the same desire to want to do something similar. People were kind of going, are you going to go for 10 million next? I was like, no. So I created this sort of holding pattern, which was called positively influence everyone who I connect with. That's fine. But then just recently, I thought, you know what, this book thing is amazing. And the impact it makes, not just on the lives of the author, but on the people who read those books. So it's like you get a double bite at it. So my goal now is I'm going to help 1,000 people write 1,000 books in 1,000 days. That's my purpose.
Wow, 1,000 days. So what's that? Just 3 years, pretty much.
Yeah, just short of 3 years.
Brilliant.
Oh!
Well, I might actually. It's something that I've always thought, oh, I'd love to write a book. It's just one of those things that it seems to me like a milestone in my life. Like if you write a book,
yeah,
you reach that certain point.
But Louis, there's three reasons why people don't. So Louis, the big thing is, number one, people think, oh, am I good enough? The answer is yes. Yes, you are. You don't have, if you're writing a fiction book, don't compare yourself to Stephen King. You don't need to do that because you do your version of it. That's fine. That's great. Second thing is, how do I do this? What's the process? Well, that's what I'm teaching people. I'm giving them the confidence and I'm teaching them step by step by step exactly what you need to do. And these days it's easier than ever. You don't have to get a big book deal with a penguin, to be able to publish your book. You could publish your book from where you are right now, and I'll show you how to pre-sell it so that when you launch on day one, you already have a whole bunch of sales. It's brilliant. And then number 3 is procrastination. Or I'll do it then, or when I'm a bit older, or when I finish doing this, or when I retire, or I'll do it during the summer when things are a little bit slower. You'll never start if that's the case. You need accountability. You need to get cracking. And that's why I say to people, if you do what I share with you, you will write, publish, and sell your book in 2021. That's the promise. And I think that's quite exciting to be able to get people.
That's very exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I'll be signing up to after this call.
Writhatbook.co.uk. It's all there. Louis,
Brilliant.
sign yourself. You would love it. I mean, somebody like you with your passion and enthusiasm, and you've got you'll see other people, young entrepreneurs, do have a bit of a drive, and you've got that. And what's the name of the guy who did Social Chain, who's just become a dragon on Dragon's Den? You'll know him.
Oh,
Thingy.
Bartlett, last name.
Yeah,
Bartlett.
Steve Bartlett.
Is it
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, Steve Bartlett. So you're similar to him. 23, he started his business doing that type of stuff. He's just written his book, and I think it's sold 500,000 copies already.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Amazing, isn't it?
Write that book, Louis. Write that book.
Brilliant. I will do. Okay, so speaking of me being just 23, I'd love to know what advice you would give to yourself when you were 23, like if you could.
Do you know, when I was your age, I was married with a kid.
Really?
Yeah. So I got married when I was 23, and I married Christine, and she already had a son, so I became a dad straight away. And the advice I would give my 23-year-old self, I know that when you talk about, you're gonna have loads of cliches like just go for it, don't be afraid, and all that type of thing. But my strange thing is, do you know what? Start saving money now.
Okay.
Because become financially literate, understand what it means, because a lot of people don't really start until they get to my age now, which is 53. 30 years on, and they're now thinking, oh, I better start and do something, when actually at your age, I wish I'd just thought, I'm going to start and put a bit away, I'm going to start and learn a little bit about investing. I didn't do it until later on, and 10 years can make a big difference.
That's a really useful piece of advice, to be fair. When I was doing the Wheel of Life, that's one of the areas that I'm lower on. So my wheel, I think my overall score was like 55, so fairly in the middle. And I'm fairly high on like the personal development side, that sort of thing. But when it comes to like the financial side, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's a really useful piece of advice for that.
I'm pleased that you're using the Wheel of Life.
Yeah. Well, I only, to be completely honest, so my girlfriend once saw you speak, and it was about a month ago or a few weeks ago that she recommended your book, How to Be Brilliant, to me. So I started reading that book, and I'd already come up with the idea to start this series. And as I was probably like at the end of chapter 1, chapter 2, I thought you'd be brilliant to speak to. Like, I can see massively how this can already work for me. For me, so far, I've always just been focusing on career, I'd say, as like my area of focus, and I hadn't thought about all the other areas.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's eight spokes on the Wheel of Life. So your girlfriend sounds very, very brilliant. She sounds amazing. Recommending my book. I love it.
She's part of the Action Coach community, which I believe is when she had seen you at an Action Coach conference potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Action Coach are brilliant. Really, really great.
Yeah. Well, I'm fortunate because her dad is a business coach under Action Coach, and I'm coached by him now. So
brilliant. Who is it? Who's coaching you?
Called Stuart Wright.
Oh, brilliant!
Do you know
fantastic. Him? Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
You've got a great coach there.
Yeah,
definitely.
I do definitely.
Yeah. Listen to him. Do what he suggests.
Yeah, I do. Brilliant. So, would you say there's a common trend amongst successful people?
Do you know the second off last book that I wrote was a book called The Edge, and basically what I did was I interviewed and researched over 200 highly successful people, like real top people in their game, and I wanted to find out what gave them their edge. What did they do? To be honest with you, I could have just interviewed the first 20 and stopped, because the first 20 gave me all the traits, and after that 180 people repeated it. So there are certain characteristics, certain things that they do. So, for example, one day I interviewed a guy called General Sir Mike Jackson, who was head of the British Army. Phenomenal, incredible person. The next day I interviewed a guy called Danny Mayer, who was probably the world's greatest restaurateur. And I looked at the notes when I got home, and I'm reading them, and I'm thinking I could swap the names at the top and the answers would almost be the same.
Wow.
So So highly successful people, more than anything, they have characteristics. It's not about necessarily skill sets. They can learn the skill sets. It's the characteristics. It's what, that word character. What type of character do you want to have? Are you going to be honest with people? Are you going to have a positive outlook? This is not positive rah-rah thinking. This is about taking positive action, about doing the right things. Do you put yourself out of your comfort zone on a regular basis? As soon as you become deeply satisfied with something, yeah, that's fine. That's great. That's a nice place to be. But you're not going to grow there. You've got to go out and make mistakes. You've got to get stuff wrong. All these people make mistakes. So Danny Mayer was talking about opening restaurants, putting all of their profit into one idea for a restaurant, and it failed. He said, I'm so pleased I did that. He said, I'm so pleased I did that, because that taught me so much about what the next one was going to be. General Sir Mike Jackson had to make a decision where men died. I mean, it was just extraordinary. It was in the press. It was like a big thing. He had to make that decision, and people died. British soldiers died because of his decision. He said, I had to make that decision because if I didn't, more people would have died. Now imagine having that.
That'd be a horrible position to
But
be
the
in.
character of the person
Yeah.
means he can make those decisions. Extraordinary.
Oh, yeah, that's very interesting. Now, how would you define success? Because a lot of people I know just think like financial success when they talk about success. But how would you define success?
It's absolutely down to being totally happy with who you are and what you do. It has to be. If you wake up in the morning, you just think, wow, I can't believe I get to do this today. That's success. Now, if you're waking up and thinking, well, this is going to be tough, but I'm on a journey to get something, but I'm still happy I'm on that journey, great. Yeah. That's also a success. So it's not a case of, and people measure it in different ways. Some people measure it with money, but I've coached people who are phenomenally wealthy. I mean, like they have ridiculous amounts of money, and for them, it's just a thing. Yeah. It's just a thing. One of the most unhappy people who I coached had more money than he could ever spend, more money than he, but he was deeply unhappy with himself as an individual. Then I've met other people, and I've worked with people who they have barely anything, and they are so happy, so happy. So it's definitely not money. I think it's more about feeling truly happy in who you are and what you do.
And do you think that comes to being like as far out on the wheel of life as possible? Like,
not necessarily. The wheel of life's interesting. People sometimes kind of say, oh, well, do you need to get all 10s? I've never met anybody who's got all 10s. Okay. When I used to do live events and we do the Wheel of Life, I used to say, has anybody got all 10s? Because if you have, you're going to come on stage for the next 2 days and you're going to teach people what you do, because I don't know anybody who has all 10s. And the Wheel of Life changes. You do it 1 month and it kind of, I'm getting really good with this. You adjust a couple of areas. 2 months later, oh my goodness, I'm suddenly down to a 3 now on my contribution, because I've stopped doing things for other people because I was focused on doing that for myself. So you get that one back up, and then suddenly, my career's down a little bit because I've got a boss at work who's a bit of a, I can't say it. We'll try and keep it as a non-expletive podcast.
Yeah, it's all right. You can feel free to swear if you want.
As soon as you do that, then when you post your podcast, you got to put in that it's going to be bad language.
Yeah,
even if you just say one S word.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say has been like the highlight of your journey to where you are so far? If you could put a highlight on.
Undoubtedly getting my first book published.
Yeah.
There's that feeling of holding your book, your name being on the front of a book. There's nothing like it, honestly. It's ridiculous. I've got 2 children. I love them. Them coming into the world and seeing my daughter being born and all that type of stuff is amazing. But it's not quite as good as having your own book. Which I probably, if my daughter hears this, she'll go mad. What? My birth? Yeah, it's the most joyful thing, and it changes everything. It gives you more confidence. People get to know you who would never have heard of you. If you're using a book for business, it truly is the ultimate business card. Yeah. I probably got at least probably a lot more, at least over £1 million worth of new business from my first book alone.
Wow.
From the first one. I mean, that
That's
just shows you
brilliant.
the power of doing that. Now,
how long
some
did it take you to write that first book?
well, there's a little story. I set a goal that I would have a book published by the end of this particular year. It was 2003. So I got a chance to meet this amazing lady, Rachel Stock, who's a publisher for Pearson, in a hotel in Leeds. And I pitched this idea of how to be brilliant, the book. We got to the end of having a lovely lunch, and she said, great, I like it. Let's do it. This was the Thursday before Easter. And I said, great, when will it be out? Well, probably about 18 months. It's like, whoa, no. I've set a goal. I'm going to have my book published by the end of the year. And she was, well, I'm sorry, we can't do that. So no, come, there's got to be a way. She says, no, this, Michael, this is how long it takes. It takes a long time. It's traditional publishing. It's Pearson, blah, blah, blah. We have to get people in slots. We have to do all this. I said, come on, Rachel, there must be a way. She said, well, the only possible thing would be if you had the manuscript written already, if you'd completed it. I've actually just had an author this morning drop out because he hasn't been able to hit his deadline and he doesn't think he's going to. So you could maybe take that slot, but only if you had the book written. And I went, yeah, it is. I looked her in the eye and I just told a complete lie. Yes, it is. And she went, really? You haven't mentioned that? And I went, yeah, it's done. She went, well, I would need the complete manuscript in my hand by next Tuesday. Can you do that, Michael? I was like, yeah, no problem at all. And I remember leaving, getting in the car, ringing Christine and saying, sweetie, cancel everything this weekend. We're writing a book. And we did. We wrote How to Be Brilliant in 4 days.
So you hadn't even started it?
Hadn't started. I knew it. I knew what was going to be in it. I taught the program for 4 years. I had a set of audios. We started off by transcribing the audios, but there wasn't this software to do it. I had to ask my PA if she would type it all up. So she was doing that. I was writing extra bits. Christine was proofreading it and sense checking it. And eventually we managed to do it. And we literally handed it to her on the Tuesday morning. Wow. But the funny thing was, a few years ago, the 10th anniversary edition came out. And I thought, I'm going to put this story in because I think it's quite a fun story. I thought I better contact Rachel first and ask if she minds. So I got in touch. I said, Rachel, look, I don't know if you remember, but I said I'd written the manuscript. I actually hadn't, and I want to do that. She goes, Michael, I knew you hadn't written it. I was like, really? She goes, yeah, but I also knew you would. And I was like, yes, that's it, isn't it? That level of confidence, that level of certainty, and somebody else believing in you so much that you will do it. And yeah, and that is the biggest life-changing moment when that book was published later on that year. It changed everything.
Wow, that's brilliant. So I guess also you could say that's like 4 days work to then get over £1 million worth of business. And then plus for book sales, I'm guessing as well.
Yeah, plus books. I mean, How to Be Brilliant is published in 20. Well, if you look at all my books, I mean, they're behind me. They're all my books in different languages. So
can you read them in any of your other languages?
Well, I'll show you one. Look, let's have a look at this. Look at that. Can you read that one?
Oh, no.
I mean, very kindly, they might flip it at the top.
Yeah.
So that is, I mean, what language is that? That is Korean, I think. Yeah, Korean version of Flip It. I mean, it's just bonkers, isn't it?
Brilliant. That is brilliant. So obviously, as well as being an author, you've done a lot of speaking before.
Yeah.
And I mentioned how my girlfriend had seen you at an Action Coach conference. What's the best speaking opportunity you've ever had, or which one have you enjoyed the most?
Oh, that's a great question. I think probably, the Action Coach events are great, but the London Business Forum, if you're asked to speak at the London Business Forum, you are at the top of your game. They are very, very selective about who they have, and their audience is incredible. They have brilliant people in the audience, and they've asked me to speak there 4 times now. And I remember the first time I did a London Business Forum event, I was like, whoa, this is a big stage to be on. And And then after that, I've done a couple of events where there's been like 10,000 people, and that's a buzz. I mean, it's like you like feel like a
Wow, that's
your
crazy.
ego kind of try. Christine completely brings you back down to earth. She kind of goes, "Okay, let's see if we can get your big head in the car." She does all that type of stuff.
Did you ever get nervous speaking in front of that many people?
I don't get nervous. I have a technique that I do to turn nerves into excitement.
Okay.
And it's two very, very small tweaks. So I changed my physiology. So rather than having, because the difference between nervous and excited, it's two very, very small changes.
Mm.
And I have a focus, and that my focus has to be on the audience. And I'm not there for me, I'm there for them. Speakers who speak for themselves never get the same response as people who speak for the audience. So I am entirely there for them to make sure they have the best possible experience. And whether that's 10 people in a room or 10,000 in a room, that is my go-to place. And the other thing, Louis, I work really hard at being a brilliant speaker. So, and how to be brilliant, we talk about three things that you want to be brilliant at. Brilliant parent, brilliant partner, brilliant presenter. They're my three things. And so I always get there the day before. I meet with the crew. I work with the crew. I take my own events producer with me who does all my visuals and sound effects and that type of thing. I meet as many audience members as I can beforehand. I do at least 2 or 3 calls with the organizers beforehand. What are the live issues? What do you need to know? I'm there. I walk the stage. I know exactly where the best light's going to be. So if it's a big stage and there's lots of lights on you, you can't see the audience. I know exactly where the audience are. I make sure I've got eye contact with every single person in that audience, no matter what size. I have a technique for doing that. So I start on time. I finish on time. Everything you can imagine that I could possibly do to be that little bit better than anybody else who's on that stage, I will do. And I always, if there's, again, I don't want to sound big-headed, but the results from that are phenomenal because often they'll do this thing where they'll say, all right, we're going to have, we've got 8 speakers. And at the end, they ask the audience to rate the speakers. Whenever they do that, I love it. I love that you're going to do that. First of all, it makes everybody work a bit harder and be better. Secondly, I know I'm going to win. I am going to be the number 1 speaker at that event. That's without a doubt, I will be voted number 1. And I go in with that belief and I work really hard to do it.
That's something that, to be fair, from How to Be Brilliant, I found really interesting. But there's a part where you talked about Olympians and how you might finish like 100th of a second ahead, but that makes all the difference in the result that you get afterwards. And it's not something I've ever thought about, like in other areas.
The classic thing to be with that is the most famous Olympian probably is Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
When I was at the 2012 Olympics, when he won, I watched him win that race. And he was just a fraction of a second faster than the person who came second. And he did his Usain Bolt stance and all that type of stuff. And he picked up $50 million worth of sponsorship deals from winning that one race. Wow. It was the most watched sporting event of all time, right? More people watched that race than any other sporting event of all time. What was the name of the person who came second? No idea.
Hang on, I actually think I might know this. was it Johan Blake?
So that's what most people say. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
nobody cares who
no
came
one cares.
second.
That's true. That is true.
The third place, being the third fastest person in the world at the Olympics with the most watched sporting event, you get a bronze medal.
Yeah.
I mean, Lucas's contract could do with more energy or something like that.
Yeah.
So where do you want to be? But the point with this is you have to choose what's important to you. So that was his number 1 goal. His entire focus was on achieving that. You can't say, I want to be a brilliant speaker and I want to be a brilliant author, because brilliant authors just write all the time. And I'm kind of happy being a good author. I'm happy writing stuff that people not everybody's going to love my stuff. That's fine. I'm really cool with that. I want to be a brilliant partner. I want to be a brilliant husband for my wife. And I've let her down before. I know I've done that. So I keep going, what would brilliance look like? So it's like little things. I remember to put her toothpaste on her toothbrush every night when I always get to the bathroom before her. And I wanted to walk in there for her to think, oh, that's thoughtful. Even if I've just had a row or a Barney or fallen out over something or whatever, I'm going to put the toothpaste on there. It's a little thing to just show I love you. It's a thing, a physical thing to do. That's what brilliance looks like. And being a brilliant parent, that is just rock hard all the time.
So, what does a typical day in your life look like? Because I know lots of people will talk about you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and different things, but what is a typical day in your life?
Well, I'm not one of these morning miracle people who gets up at 5 and beats the day before 7 and all that type of stuff. I find that tiresome.
Yeah.
And part of my thing is being a brilliant husband, and my wife would drive her nuts if I was up at 5 doing stuff. If I could, I would get up at the crack of 10 because I'm not really designed for mornings. But I do get up probably about 7, and the first thing I'll do is I go out for a walk, and this is my daily routine, and I listen to audiobooks when I'm out walking. And I used to have this excuse that, it's difficult to find time to read books or listen to books. When you go out for a walk, it's great. So I do 55 minutes walking, come back, I do some bit of stretching, and then I do a 17-minute routine to get ready. So my shower, affirmations, brush my teeth, have a shave, all that stuff I do in 17 minutes. And then I start my day with looking at the list that I wrote the night before. So I always write a list the night before called the $100,000 idea. It's the 5 most important things that you should do the next day. And I think to myself, right, I want 2 things off that list before I give myself a treat. And my treat will be a cup of tea. 2 things off the list, then I get a cup of tea. It doesn't always work, but that's my intention. And then after that, it's just, I do what I need to do. I do 3 types a day. I have me days where I don't do any work at all. I just focus on me and have a fun time. I do key days, which are top income producing activities. So that's when I'll do keynotes or coaching and stuff like that. And I try and get as much packed into those days as possible. And then I do stuff days. And stuff days is where I do bits of admin and design things and that type of stuff, all the stuff. And that makes a big difference, having those 3 different types a day. That helps me to stay really clear on what I'm doing at a particular time.
Well, it's good to know, because there's obviously the key things that you do along with that like morning routine thing, which gets you off to that great start of the day. But you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. to do it, as lots of people will recommend. Like personally, I'm not a natural early bird at all.
No.
I would rather, like you say, wake up at 10, and I'm generally better at working into the evening, for example.
Me too. If I'm writing, when I'm writing books, I write in the evening. A lot of people, you got to write before 12. No, you got to write when you can write. That's when you got to write. When it works for you. And when I've had a deadline to hit, I've written till 3 o'clock in the morning. I've gone to bed. I've slept until 10. I've got up. I've done all my other normal work. I've started writing again at 5 in the afternoon and written again till 2 in the morning. When I've got a deadline, now a lot of people will be saying, well, you should be writing first thing if you've got a deadline. Yeah, I want to write my best stuff. I don't want to write something for the sake of writing.
No, it makes complete sense. It's literally, I think after I've had dinner, that's when my brain seems to start working.
Right.
I'm like, actually, I've got this idea and I need to start.
Get on with it. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So when you've talked about how you've interviewed lots of successful people and you've met lots of different successful people before, who would you say your mentors are, or are there any people you particularly look up to or admire?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's loads. I mean, I mentioned my wife a lot. She's brilliant. My first coach was a guy called Peter Field. He helped me massively, really transform my life. I have people who've become great friends who I started to do work with and have become great friends. There's a guy called Andy Alderson who runs a business called Vanarama, and they are an unbelievable company, and it's a lot of it is down to him. He's one of the most special people you could ever want to meet. Him and his wife Emma have become our best pals. I mean, loads of great people. And sometimes as well you get to coach individuals and you kind of think, why am I coaching them? They are top of their game and they've asked me to be their coach, and I kind of think I'm learning a lot from you. I'm learning masses from you. So just recently I coached a guy called Jamie Waller, and he would be brilliant for you to interview, by the way, Louis, on here. Okay. Phenomenal guy. He wrote a book. I helped him write a book called Unsexy Business. Okay. And it's about how 12 people made their fortunes with particularly unsexy businesses. Because every kind of thinks, oh, I've got to be in high tech. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. He's like interviewing people and writing about people who made their fortune gritting car parks for supermarkets. It's just great, you know. And he's ridiculously successful. If you interview him, the chances are he'll be on his yacht in the Med when you interview
that
him.
wouldn't be too bad. I might have to get one of those fake virtual backgrounds.
Yeah, so
like I'm on a yacht as well.
Yeah, I mean, loads of people. They're everywhere, and sometimes I'll tell you who's really inspiring me at the moment. I've got a granddaughter who's 15 months old. She's teaching me a lot about patience, a lot about development, a lot about truly appreciating the beauty of a human when they grow. That's really great. So that's little Ella. Every Wednesday, Christy and I don't work for the day, and we look after Ella. And by the time we get to 7 o'clock, we are absolutely exhausted. It's like, oh, couldn't do this again.
Well, I'm not quite there yet. I
take
will
your time.
That's my plan at the moment. So I guess the final question I wanted to ask was, we all have those days when you wake up and you just think like, things start to go wrong that are maybe out of your control. Like, in your opinion, what's the best way to turn a not so brilliant day into a brilliant day?
I think the first thing is to realize that, when those people say, oh, I had a hell of a day, I had a terrible day. Highly successful people never have a bad day. They might have a bad half an hour, but they don't have a bad day. And to be able to compartmentalize stuff and to say, okay, that was bad, that was terrible, but I'm going to change. And then to have a tool that helps you to change. So I do a state change technique, which is changing your language, focus, and physiology. If you changed any one of those things, you would feel different. Change all three, you immediately change your state. So language, I've got keywords. My main word is yes. So if I find myself having a bit of a crappy time, I just go, yes, 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 3 times. And immediately you start to feel difference. Secondly, focus. If you dwell on the past, then once a dweller, always a dweller. You can't dwell on the past, but you can change the future. So I think, okay, what can I do in the next half an hour that would make a difference? What would make me feel good? How am I going to end this day so I feel really good? So I focus on that. I focus on my grateful list, just to change of focus. And the final one is physiology. And I do a bit of a bounce on my seat. I've got one of those bouncy seats. So I do a little bounce and I move my arms around a little bit and I put my head back and a big daft smile on. I do my yes, yes, yes. And immediately you can change your state. So, and it's true, you can really do that. And people are like, oh, is it not just faking it? Yeah, well, fake it till you make it. Practice it when you don't need it, so it's there when you do. But can you change it that quickly? Yeah, you can. Because I tell you what, if I give you some devastating news, you would change your state in a second to be negative. So why can't you change your state to being positive? That's what I do.
It's like when, let's say you're upset and someone like says smile, or they're like smile at you. You can't help but smile, can you?
Yeah,
almost like that. And then by smiling like that, it makes you actually happy.
But Louis, when people smile at you, it's contagious.
Yeah.
But the other side is if somebody says, come on, smile, you immediately go into a defense thing. So you have to want to do this for yourself. You can't do it for somebody else. You can't say to somebody, come on, change your state.
Yeah.
It's just true personal development. It's absolutely, I do this for me, the most important person in the world.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, it has been fantastic to speak to you today. I've learned a lot in just half an hour or so. So thank you very much.
My absolute pleasure. And Louis, I can't wait to see you on Write That Book. Join now. I will give you a link that you can put in the notes.
Brilliant. That would be great. Thank you very much.